Okay, so the black president that we have right now has waded into some of these issues along the way. What should President Obama do now, Julie?
Well, first of all, he should echo exactly what Jillian said, which is no matter how outraged you may be about this, violence is not the answer, looting is not the answer, violent protest is certainly not the answer. But I have to say, I find it interesting in some quarters that people are more outraged about Colin Kaepernick taking the knee than they are about an unarmed black man being shot in Tulsa.
No, we're outraged about false narratives.
But wait a second. I don't know that this narrative is false. You're suggesting the narrative is that this white police...
It's been false in many instances for the Black Lives Matter movement. The truth hasn't mattered. The hands weren't up. And those types of things actually should matter, and the narrative takes over.
And in some instances, they were borne out to be right. So the point here is that we need to all wait and see what happens. I do have to say we don't know what happened in Tulsa. Tulsa, to me, is a lot more complicated. It was an unarmed black man. This police officer clearly felt that she wasn't, the female felt that she was in danger. She felt he was reaching for something. It turned out he wasn't reaching for a gun.
Put yourself in your shoes. Hold on. You can't let that go. If this guy's walking, if she's telling him to stop, and this is a big dude, black or white, big dude, walking back to his car, and she's saying stop, and he's walking back and then reaching... No, there's videotape. I've watched it.
I have a quick question about that.
I don't know what she was saying.
Because it seems like, you know, first of all, we have to be able to separate these instances. As rational observers, we have to be able to say that what happened in Tulsa is different than what happened in Charlotte. There were different circumstances. There were different victims. There were different police officers involved. And here in Tulsa, the problem that I have is the bad communication between the officers. Because if one is using lethal force and the other is using a taser or stun gun, then they're not talking to each other.
Kennedy, you can't get inside the police officers that view different threat levels.
Then they have to get inside each other's heads with better communication.
You can't get inside every. It's like every.
Yeah, you actually.
But you would use that to defend.
We have to be able to have that conversation.
People perceive threats differently.
Who is to say that a cop pulls me over and doesn't automatically assume that I'm a threat and then shoots? I mean, you're assuming now that any time a cop says that they shot somebody,
put their lives on the line for us, and we can't relate to it unless you've been there. She doesn't know what he could pull out of that car.
Then any of us can get shot. Any of us can get shot with absolutely no compunction, because what you're suggesting is if the officer goes and
says... to that issue, statistically, more whites are shot and killed by police officers.
If a cop is telling you to stop,
then blacks are.
If a cop's telling you to stop, stop. And if you don't stop and you reach into your window, that's a problem.
That's the cop's assertion.
Well, that's a pretty fair assertion in my mind.
Then you don't think that police officers are trained to communicate with one another if they're using lethal force?
Of course they are. I just think about, as a platoon leader who's been in Iraq and seen guys make difficult decisions, people perceive threats differently. You can't get inside everyone's head in the immediate moment. She pulls a gun, he pulls a taser.